and welcome to the 4th episode of the Livity Gardens Cook Along. Today we are making one of my kids' favorite soup, the Fennel and Garbanzo bean soup. It's not raw, we're gonna have to cook some things, but we're gonna work with some vegetables that we sometimes forget about, like fennel and cabbage. This soup is very easy to make. Please get your ingredients and follow along as we're gonna cook together. So here we are. We have all of our ingredients here. We have some 1 onion, 2 carrots, some cabbage, some fennel, obviously, some fresh thyme, some spinach. I have the garbanzo beans here, some apple cider vinegar because the recipe calls for white wine to deglaze our pan, but we're not going to be using wine. We'll be using the apple cider vinegar instead. And some vegetable broth over here. This is my favorite brand, by the way. If I don't make it at home, I like to buy this brand. And some garlic, sorry. We cannot forget the garlic. So, I like to start my recipes by preparing all of my ingredients first. Anything that has to be cut, we cut. Anything that has to be minced, we mince. So once it's time to cook, we have all of our stuff ready in front of us. So let's start with our onion, because that's what goes in the pan first. My recipes are always listed with the ingredients in the order in which they will appear in the recipe. So if onion is the first thing that you're going to be sauteing, the onion is going to be the first ingredient that will appear in the recipe. And usually, most recipes, that's how it is. So it makes it for easier reading and understanding of the steps. Take this all off. You gotta grab a towel here. So we need to chop this onion. Not too small, not too big. I like to have, I usually chop my onions like so. I cut it in half and then like this, and then you can make small dice. Go. Once you're done, that's why I always have a bowl usually next to me. I have one bowl for my compostable items and I have one bowl for the things that I cut that I want to keep separate. Here's our onion. Same thing on this side. If you don't have yellow onions and you have one red onion, that would work as well. You could also use shallots. You'll just need quite a bit of shallots to achieve the amount of onions we have here. That's almost 2 cups of onions. There you go. This is done. Then we continue down our recipe. I know we have to saute these onions first, but we have to cut our things first. After that, we have our fennel. If you've never worked with fennel, I'll show you. It's quite easy. So let's start with one. You want to take off the fronds here. These are called fennel fronds. You can keep some of this green here. I like to keep some to decorate because, as you know, I take my plating very seriously. To me, that's an art form. So to make the plate look nice, you can use some of these fennel fronds to decorate. So that should be enough. The rest you can keep to make vegetable broth. That's usually what I do with some of my kitchen scraps. So once you remove the fronds, you want to remove a little bit of this here in order to easily take out the outer leaves. So just a little bit, so that your outer leaves, the ones that are not perfect here, they come out easily. This is pretty nice. It just needs a little wash. Same thing with this one. Tiny slice, remove the leaves that are less than stellar. Now we have our bulbs. You want to wash these nicely. There's oftentimes sand that gets stuck in there. One. So all that we're doing right now is called our mise en place. That's a French term That means that we're getting all of our stuff ready. So if you were a chef in a big restaurant, you'd have people cutting all your things, and then you would just come in and put all that stuff together and make magic. And all of what we're doing here, preparing our ingredients, is called mise en place. If you want to read more about that, I have a great article on livitygardens.com that tells you all about mise en place, why it's important, and how to go about it. So once we're done with washing these, you're going to cut them lengthwise like this. And then you see inside there's the heart right here. You can take it out. If it's a big one, I usually take it out. You just go like this, you make an incision like a triangle. The heart comes right out. Compost, same thing on this side. Taking the heart out. I'll rip your heart out. Same thing with the other one. It's pretty easy. It's rare. People tend to forget about fennel. I think it's such a great vegetable. It has a beautiful aroma, a bit like in the licorice family. Let me see. There you go. Once you've removed the heart, you want to slice these real thin. I sometimes use a mandolin, but it's a lot of trouble. It's hard to wash. So just take a good knife and slice these very thin. And then once you look at your recipe, you can see what goes in at what time. So we know, if we look at the recipe, we know that the onion goes first. We're going to saute the onion first. But then afterwards, the recipe says to add the onion, after the onion, to add the fennel, the carrots, the garlic, the thyme, and salt and pepper. So what you want to do is, once you're done cutting your things that go together, you put all of those in one bowl. So that when you add them, they're all together already and they're ready to go. So here's our bowl. So when I'm done cutting some of the fennel, I put it here. Keep going until you're all done. Watch out for your fingers. So as I was saying, this is a soup that my kids love. Not sure why, probably because it's simple, it's not spicy. You could definitely make this spicy by adding some hot chili, either some sambal or some sriracha, which would be very nice in here. But I try to keep this one as is for the kids, and the way that I serve it, I make a big pot of mashed veggies, like mashed potatoes, mashed white potatoes and sweet potatoes. Sometimes I put some rutabaga in there, some carrots, and then I make a big mash with that, and then I serve the soup on top of that mash. So it's more like a stew if you serve it that way. The kids kind of love the mix of the soup with the potatoes, and I don't know, you'd have to ask them, but they like it that way. There's actually a lot of soups that I serve that way for them. My coconut red lentil soup is one of those. That's another one that I should do a cook along for. That's one of my favorite soup, and it's thick. And the kids love to have that one either on rice or on mashed potatoes. Here we are with our fennel. Gives you a nice big bowl of fennel. That's nice. And it's just it's a different flavor. It's nice to switch it up sometimes with different vegetables. And I hear there's a lot of people that have veggie boxes from their local farmers, and sometimes there's fennel in there. Nobody knows what to do with it. So there you go. You can do this. So the fennel, the carrots. So 2 big carrots. You wash these. And we're going to slice those into coins. I do not peel my carrots. I buy organic, I wash well, and I keep the skin. Because that's pretty much where some of the nutrients are. So here we go. Thin coins. And because we're going to add these at the same time, once you're done with your coins, you put them on top of your fennel in the bowl. And then when it's time to add that, you have all of that in one bowl. Easy to add. The goal here is to really make your life easy. Oftentimes I will chop veggies in advance. If I have like a 10-minute in the morning, I can easily chop all these veggies, and then when I come back, I can make a soup easily. It's all about being efficient in the kitchen, having things that are already made. When you have some time, chop some veggies, make enough veggies to last you the week. You can make salads, you can toss them in a soup, you can saute them to serve with a sauce over rice. Because chopping really is the longest part of this whole thing, really, is chopping and preparing your stuff. Sampling a recipe is never that long. It's always the chopping. This is not very stellar. Has a piece of carrot. Here at the end, watch out for your fingers. What I do usually is I just eat this last part. 2 carrots cut into coins on top of our fennel here. So far it's been pretty easy, right? Nothing crazy here. Here we are. Next thing is our garlic. So we need 4 cloves of garlic. Same thing here. As I said in previous cook along, the way that I like to peel my garlic is I like to smash it, and then the peel comes right off, and it's already kind of half done, because after you just have to mince it. There you go. I don't know why I'm trying to go fast, but I know you guys are cooking with me, so I have to calm down, right? Here we are, 3 and 4. So after we're done with peeling these, we're gonna mince them so that we don't bite in a big piece of garlic while we're eating our soup. Here we are. Garlic is such a nice ingredient. I could put it in my cereal if I could. Go. Minced garlic. That's simple. On top of your carrots, that's going to go in all at the same time. And then some thyme that I have from the garden. Just put that in there. It's going to go at the same time, as well as our salt and pepper. So let's put this aside for now with our onions. So we have all this ready. Not bad, right? And then the other things that we need to look at is the rest of the ingredients. So you see that I have a cabbage here. So we need, the recipe calls for about 1 cup of green cabbage. So what I like to do after I removed the leaves that were less than stellar, since we need just 1 cup, I like to slice off some of the cabbage right off like this, and then you just go ahead and you shred it or Slice it real fine. Then we're gonna add that towards the end of cooking the soup so that we can keep it somewhat crunchy. I love cabbage. I think after with the rest of this cabbage, I'll be making a nice slaw. So let's grab a bowl for this. Here we are. Might be a little small. We'll squeeze it in there. There's about 1 million bowls in this kitchen, but here I am with the smaller one. So here's our cabbage. And then the rest is pretty much things that we'll be able to add. I have 2 handfuls of spinach in here already in a bowl, so you can do that. And then I already opened my can of garbanzo beans. The thing is that I want to keep this juice in here. This is what's called aquafaba. When you see aquafaba in a recipe or anywhere really, this is an egg replacer when you're baking. To me, this is gold because I make, with 1 can, I can make 6 banana breads. So I'm going to keep that gold in here. So I'm going to strain the chickpeas and put a bowl under so that I can keep that aquafaba. We don't use it today. It's just that I want to make sure that I keep it for my banana bread. So let me put this on the side. Then you want to rinse your chickpeas very well, which I'm doing at the moment. And then you can let this slowly drain while we start the soup. The other things we'll need is, like I said, this. Once our veggies are cooking, we're going to deglaze our pan instead of the white wine. You can use white wine if you want. It gives it a nice taste, but we'll be doing the apple cider vinegar. We're going to need 6 cups of the vegetable broth. That's why I have each of these is 4 cups. So I have 2 of those. And then sea salt and pepper. And that's that. We've cut everything. So now that our mise en place is done, we have all of our things here. We're going to start sauteing the onions. So here we are on top of the stove. Let me start this. About, I would say medium-high heat. You want to pour your olive oil into this large soup pot. So it's calling for 2 tablespoons of olive oil. Here we are. And then what's beautiful about the mise en place is that everything is ready. Everything we have to do now is just assembling the recipe, which is the easy part and the quickest part. So once your oil is hot, we're going to put the onions and we're going to saute them for about 6 or 7 minutes until they're nice and translucent. You can put a little bit of onion in the pan to see if it's starting to warm up. I think that's looking good. So put your onions, give them a big stir so that they're coated with the olive oil. And you let that go for 6 or 7 minutes. So this is pretty good. Our onions have been cooked down. They look nice. Now it's time to add our big bowl of goodies. So we have our carrots, our fennel, the garlic, the sprig of fresh thyme. I want to give this a good stir. The smell is just wonderful. Fennel is so good. Fennel and garlic, oh my gosh. Can't go wrong with that. So give this a nice stir. And then you let it cook again. Actually, yeah, let's put our salt and pepper first. So generous pinches of salt and pepper. There we go. Again, a nice stir. So you want to let this cook again for a little while, probably around 10 minutes. You want the carrots to start to soften. You don't want them to fall apart when you're stirring, but you want them to lose their bite, to lose their crunch. So I would say that 8 to 10 minutes is pretty good. You also want to make sure that you stir once in a while as it's cooking so that it doesn't stick at the bottom. This is looking very good. Yeah. Now, you want to add your green cabbage. There you go. Give it a good stir and keep cooking for 2 minutes. During those 2 minutes, we're going to prepare our next steps, because that's the things we're going to have to measure. Oh, the smell. I hope you guys are cooking along and smelling what I'm smelling. It's just wonderful. So after we're going to be done with these 2 minutes, we're going to add either the white wine or if you go like me, we're going to go with the apple cider vinegar. So we need 1/4 cups of apple cider vinegar. So here we'll just measure it. There you go. So there's this that we have to measure that we'll be adding, and the vegetable broth. So we know that a whole of these is 4 cups, so we're going to put a whole one, and we're going to measure out 2 cups out of the second one. So here I go. And then you'll have 2 cups left over for another recipe. I love this broth because it's so thick and rich as opposed to the regular vegetable broth that are see-through. This one is very nice. So while stirring, we're going to let's add our wine or apple cider vinegar. Here we are. So you want to stir that around and let it evaporate for 2 minutes. A minute. Might be pretty quick. Perfect. Now we're going to shake this and add our vegetable broth. We're getting there. We're almost done. And what we want to do is also add our garbanzo beans that I had just draining over there. There we are. So give this a nice stir. And this is when we're going to be cooking slowly. You don't want to boil, you want a light simmer. So you want to make sure that it's cooking and the flavors are blending together, but you don't want it to be boiling, because that's when you're going to overcook your vegetables. Everything is going to turn into a big mush. So about 10-15 minutes, give the time for the flavors. You can stir once in a while, but yeah, a good 10-15 minutes, and then I'll see you right after. So after our 10-15 minutes of simmering, our soup is pretty much done. So what you want to do now is turn off the heat, and that's when we're going to be adding our spinach and some lemon juice to brighten up the flavors. So here we add 2 tablespoons of fresh lemon juice, trying not to get the seed. Here we go. So putting lemon juice, I try to put lemon or lime juice in every single soup that I make at the end of the cooking, because it just brings out all of the flavors. It just makes the soup stand out. There we go. And you don't want to cook the spinach. They're just going to get wilted with the soup right now because the soup is so hot. So you may want to discard your thyme sprigs. I think I put 2. There we are. And here's your soup. You're done. Look at this soup, you guys. Such a big bowl of goodies. It's hot too. And as you know, no cook along is successful until the final test, the taste test. I don't know if I can taste this. It's gonna do like the baked barbecue tofu where the kids tasted, but it was so hot they had to spit it out. So I'll try to take my time here. It smells so good. Yep. The fennel still has a crunch to it. So are the carrots. The chickpeas are going to add your protein. So if you serve this as a meal with some baguette or crusty bread, it's a meal. You have your protein, you have your veggies, you have everything you need in one big pot of soup. Plus the kids love it. I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Livity Gardens Cook Along. If you want the recipe or any other recipe, please look on my website at livitygardens.com.